Yes. Mm. Yes. After that, yes. Many people at the restaurant asked you when you had come from Jamaica because they thought that every black person with a foreign accent was Jamaican, right? Or some who guessed you that you were African told you that they loved elephants and wanted to go on safari. The other tragedy is that everyone identified her as a black one from an African country. So when he asked you the dimness of the restaurant after you recited the daily special, what African country you were from, you said Nigeria and expected him to say that you had donated money to fight the AIDS in Botswana. But he asked you if you were Yoruba or Igbo because you didn't have a Fulani face. You were surprised. You thought he must be a professor of anthropology at the State University, a little young in his late 20s or so. But who was to say? Igbo, you said. He asked your name and said, Akuna was pretty. He did not know ask what it meant. Fortunately, because you were sick of how people said, father's wealth, you mean like your father will actually sell you to a husband like that. Yes. We write like this. We read about another tragedy, and that is about dark color. Yes. Because of her black skin, eh, yes, because of her black skin, others think that she is from Jamaica or a foreign country. Jamaica or a foreign country. Yes. We find someone asking her that her father will actually sell her to a husband. Sell her to a husband. Yes. Here, we are given another truth, and that is about In Nigeria, poor fathers selling daughters to husbands. Yes. He told you, yes, this is a point, through which the writer gives us an idea about poverty stricken condition in Nigeria. Yes. He told you he had been to Ghana and Uganda and Tanzania, loved the poetry of Otok Bates and novels of Amos Tutuloa, and had read a lot of about sub-Saharan African countries, their histories, their complexities. You wanted to feel disdain to show it as you brought this order, because white people who liked Africa too much and those who liked Africa too little were the same, condescending. But he didn't shake his head in the superior way that Professor Kobldick back in the main community college did during a class discussion on decolonization in Africa. He didn't have that. Decolonization means British people live in Africa. He didn't have that expression of Professor Kobldick's, that expression of a person who thought himself better than the people he knew about. He came in the next day and sat at the same table when you asked if the chicken was okay. He asked if you had grown up in Lagos. He came in the third day and began talking before he ordered about how he had visited Bombay and now wanted to visit Lagos to see how real people lived. That is about one professor he meets. Mm. We find this girl meeting a professor of anthropology, Manav Vidya, A capital, anthropology, and asking her that he likes to visit Lagos to see how real people live, especially in shanty, S-H-N-T-Y, shanty towns. Shanty mean huts, palpat, shanty town. Because he never did any of silly tourist stuff when he was abroad. He talked and talked about you, had to tell him it was again restaurant policy. It bruised your hand when you set the glass of water down. The fourth day, when you saw him around, you told Juan you didn't want that table anymore. After your shift that night, he was waiting outside, earphones stuck in his ears, asking you to go out with him because your name rhymed with Hakuna Matata. The Lion King was the only Modelian movie he'd like. Because this man comes and talks 3 days, and fourth day, when he comes, he tells him manager to change the table because talking too much is against that policy. And after that, what happens? That man comes fourth days and waits outside to walk with him. Now, wherever she goes, who comes? Opportunists are there. මට විනාඩි 10ක් ඕන. Take 10 minutes. Sorry, ඉස්සලා break වුණා. ඉස්සරහ ඉන්නවද?
ඉන්නවා සර්.
හරි නම් ගිහිල්ලා ඔය ලියුවලා නේද? හරි. After that, yes, you didn't know that the Lion King was. You looked at him in the bright light and noticed that his eyes were the color of extra virgin olive oil, a greenish gold. Extra virgin olive oil was the only thing you loved, truly loved in America. All right. That person visits her 3 days and on the fourth day, he waits outside, earphones stuck in his ears, deceiving her, saying that her name is rhyming, musically. Nisra, from the beginning, did you write?
Yes, sir.
Can you read today note quickly?
This girl, the protagonist, has to face an unexpected as well as unnecessary situation soon after arriving in America because of her relative's uncle's sexual advancement towards herself. While working in the restaurant as a waitress, she could not attend school as she expected, so that she has to go to the library and do her studies. She has also rented a tiny room with a stained carpet. It is true that her people in Nigeria think that she spends a happier life with a good income, but the real situation is that she is suffering a lot in America. Everybody thinks that those who win American lottery tickets can experience salubrious lives in America with a good income, but the reality is what she has to face. If she agreed with her uncle's words, perhaps she could have found a good job with a good salary, since that person is well experienced in America and has connections too. Sometimes she lies on lumpy mattress on her twin bed and thinks about her home and what her kid and kin do as their activities for earning. Her aunts are selling dried fish and plantains, and uncles drinks local gin. Those poor families live in single rooms. Her mother's salary is not sufficient to pay her brother's school fee. In this manner, the narrator describes the most tragic poverty stricken background of her family. Therefore, she has a responsibility towards her poor parents and relatives, but she is now hopeless. At least she cannot survive with what she earns. It is understood that this is the real story of Nigerian girls arriving in America having won lottery tickets. The writer also criticizes the corrupt behavior of people of Nigeria because a secondary school child get an A pass when someone slip teachers a brown envelope. That means only those who have money can get best results in examinations. It is also sad to read that every month she sends half of her salary to her parents, but she does not write anything because there is nothing to write. It is true that she cannot write her true story to her mother. Next, we read that the protagonist has a lot of things to tell her mother regarding the behavior of Americans. They are surprisingly open and reveal their personal matters to others. The way the Americans wasting foods is also surprising because in her own country she has seen poverty and starvation. She wants to tell something happened to her that a child started to cry and pull her blonde hair. It is a point that speaks of the apartheid that reigns in America. Another surprising thing is rich people wearing shabby clothes and tattered sneakers, just like the watchmen in Lagos, where the narrator also tells that rich Americans are thin and poor Americans are fat. The actual reason behind thing is that rich people have different dieting style while poor people are used to eating too much carbohydrate. That means in America is also there's a social gap between rich and the poor. Though she has these stories to write to her mother, friends, and relatives, she refrained from writing as she cannot afford sending them each a gift as they hope. Therefore, within herself, there are two different aspects as what her kith and kin believe and what she actually faces. The writer tries to tell that this girl lives having stricken her own worries and herself, though she shows a laughter at the working place. We read about another tragedy, and that is about her dark color. Because of her black skin, others think that she is from Jamaica or a foreign country. We find someone asking her that her father will actually sell her to her husband. Here we are given a truth that is about in Nigeria, poor fathers telling daughters to husbands. This is a point through which the writer gives us an idea about power-stricken condition in Nigeria. We find this girl meeting a professor of anthropology and asking her that he likes to visit Lagos to see how real people live, especially in Shantytown. That person visits her 3 days, and on the fourth day, he waits outside, earphones stuck in his ears, deceiving her, saying that her name is rhyming musically.
Yes. Now, anyway, we, the narrator tells that you looked at him in the bright light and noticed that his eyes were the color of extra virgin olive oil, a greenish gold. Extra virgin olive oil was the only thing you loved, truly loved in America. That means she also has an idea about that man. Yes. According to the narrator, She looks at him in the bright light and noticed that his eyes were the color of extra virgin olive oil, which is the only thing that she loves in America. Yes. Now he was a senior at the state university. He told you after that, ne? Right. From that place onward, the narrator describes how this girl develops an affair with that person through close communication. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට මේ ලංකාවේ සමුදාය කියන්නේ ඔයාට ඉරිදා රැයට එහෙමද? ඔව් හරි. හෙලෝ. හරි. බලමුකෝ පටන් ගන්නකොට මොකක් හරි arrangement එකක් දාගමු ඈ. හරි. ඕකේ. පටන් ගන්නකොට බලමුකෝ ඈ. හරි okay. Sorry. One person from California, a Sri Lankan. She wants to join my degree classes. So he says we are Sri Lanka Monday 8 a.m. in California Sunday 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. Yes. Right. He told you how old he was and you asked why he had not graduated yet. This was America after all. It was not like back home, where universities closed so often that people added 3 years to their normal course of study, and lecturers went on strike and still were not paid. He said he had taken a couple of years off to discover himself and travel mostly to Africa and Asia. You asked him where ended up in finding himself and laughed. You did not laugh. You did not know that people could simply choose not to go to school, that people could dictate to life. You were used to accepting what life gave, writing down what felt dictated. Yes. Next we come to know that the young man coming to meet her is a university student, is a university student who has not completed his degree yet because of the continuous troubles in universities. Yes. That means in America also there are problems in university field. You said no the following 4 days to go in with him because you were uncomfortable with the way he looked at your face, that intense, consuming way he looked at your face that made you say goodbye to him, but also made you reluctant to walk away. And then the fifth night, you panicked when he was not standing at the door after your shift. You prayed for the first time a long time, and when he came up behind you and said, hey, you said, hey, you would go with him even before he asked. You were scared he would not ask again. The next day, he took you to dinner at Chang's, and your fortune cookie had 2 strips of paper. Both of them were blank. He knew you had become comfortable when you told him that you watched Jeopardy on the restaurant TV and you rooted for the following in this order: women of color, black men, and white women, before finally white women, which meant you never rooted for white men. He laughed and told you he was used to not to being rooted for. His mother taught women's studies. After that, step by step, that man coming closer to her life. And you knew you had become close when you told him that your father was really not a school teacher in Lagos, and he was junior driver for a construction company. And you told him about the day in Lagos traffic in the Ricky Peugeot 504 your father drove. It was raining and your seat was wet because of the rust-eaten hole of the roof. The traffic was heavy. The traffic was always heavy in Lagos, and when it rained, it was chaos. The roads became muddy ponds and cars got stuck, and some of your cousins went out and made some money pushing the cars out. The rain, swammy or swampiness you thought made your father step on the brakes too late that day. You heard bumps before you felt it. The car your father rammed into white, foreign, and dark green golden headlights like the eyes of a leopard. Your father started to cry and beg even before he got out of the car and laid himself flat on the road, causing much blowing of horns. Sorry, sir, he chanted. If you sell me and my family, you cannot buy even one tire on your car. Sorry, sir. Yes. The narrator describes how that young man becomes closer to her life, and how she reveals the extreme poverty stricken condition about the family in Lagos. Yes. Her father drives a very old car of which the roof leaks. Sorry, kakkal castle mandu. Yes. Leaks rainy water and the brake system, brake system of the car does not function properly. She tells him how his father had to plead before another man when his car collided another car because of the poor brake. The big man seated at the back did not come out, but his driver did, examining the damage. Looking at your father sprawled from the corner of his eyes as though the pleading was like phonography performance he was ashamed to admit he enjoyed. At last he let your father go, waved him away. The others' car horns blew and drivers cursed when your father came back into car. You refused to look at him because he was just like the pigs that wallowed in the marshes around the market. Your father looked like niece is shit. Yes. Mm. Through her words, To that young man, the writer speaks about the behavior of people in Lagos, that they are not tolerant. They are not tolerant. After you told him this, he pushed his lips and held your hand and said he understood how you felt. You shook your hand free, suddenly annoyed because he thought the world ought to be full people like him. You told him there was nothing to understand. It was the way it was. He found in American historian hard-fought yellow pages and drove you there. Because of the way he walked around with familiarity, a tilt-in bottle of palm wine to see how much sediment in it. The Ghanaian store owner asked him if he was African, like the white Kenyans or South African, and he said yes, but he had been in America for a long time. He looked pleased that the store owner had believed him. You cooked that evening with the things you had brought, and after he ate gari and onugo soup, he threw up in your sink. You didn't mind, though, because now you would be able to cook onugu soup with meat. Yes. Next, we find the narrator telling how that man visiting some places with her and taking meals there. Yes, meals there, which are new experiences to her, which are new experiences to her. He didn't eat meat because he thought it was the way they killed animals, wrong the way they killed animals. He said they released fear toxin into the animals, and fear toxins made people paranoid. Back home, the meat pieces you ate when there was meat were the size of half your finger, but you did not tell him that. You did not tell him either that or Davada's cues. Your mother cooked everything with because curry and rhyme were too expensive. Had MSG were MSG. He said MSG caused cancer. It was reasons he liked Chang's. Chang didn't cook with MSG. Right. Thus it is. They are talking. Once at Chang's, he told the waiter he had recently visited Shanghai that he spoke some Mandarin. The waiter wound up and told him what soup was best and then asked him, "Your girlfriend in Shanghai, hi?" And he smiled and said nothing. You lost your appetite to region deep in your chest felt clogged. The night you didn't mourn when he was inside you. You bit your lips and pretended that you didn't come because you knew he would worry. Later you told him why were you upset, and even though you went to Chang so then often together, even though you had kissed just before the uh, menus came, the Chinese man had assumed you could not possibly be his girlfriend, and he had smiled and said nothing. Before he apologized, he gazed you blankly, and you knew that he did not understand. Yes. Step, right, like this, step by step, that man becomes closer to her life, and she has to fall into a sexual experience with him, but he does not like to introduce her as his girlfriend to others. To others. He brought you presents, and when he objects about the cost, he said his grandfather in Biston had been wealthy, but hastily added that the old man had given a lot away, and the trust fund he had wasn't huge. His present mystified you. A fat first-sight glass ball that you shook to watch a tiny, shabby doll in pink spin around. A shiny rock whose surface took on the color of whatever touched it. An expensive scarf hand-painted in Mexico. Finally you told him, your voice stretched in irony, that in your light presence were always useful. The rock, for instance, and work if you could grind things with it. He laughed long and hard, but you did not laugh. You realized that in his life he could buy presents that were just presents and else nothing else, nothing useful. When he started to buy you shoes and clothes and books, you asked him not to. You didn't want any present at all. He brought them anyway, and you kept them for your cousins and uncles and aunts, for when you would one day be able to visit home, even though you did not know how you could ever afford the ticket and your rent. He said he usually wanted to see Nigeria and he could pay for you both to go. You did not want him to pay for you to visit home. You did not want him to go to Nigeria to add it to the list of countries where he went to go and live so poor he could never go back his life. You told him on a sunny day when he took you to see Long Island Sound, and the two, if you argued, your voices raised as you walked along the calm water. He said you were wrong to call himself righteous, yes. Next we find the man asking her to have a visit in Nigeria with him, but her rejecting at first. Did he mean real America, since you not like the poor people and you had seen Hartford? You hurried ahead of you, his upper body bare and pale, his spliff fools raising bits of sand, then came back and held out hands for yours. You made up and made love, ran your hands around each other's hair, his soft and yellow like the swinging, tasteless of growing corn, your dark and bouncy like the filling of your pillow. He had got too much sun and his skin turned the color of ripe watermelon and you kissed him his back before you rubbed lotion on it. The thing that wrapped itself around your neck that nearly choked you before you fell asleep started to loosen, to let go. Yes. We come to the point that the writer tries to convey in her theme. Shimamanda Adichie, in her theme, in her title, the things around your neck. The things around your neck. Neck as that man's hands that go
සර්
around.
ආයෙ කියන්නකෝ.
Here we come to the point that the writer tries to convey in her title the things around your neck. Your neck, a title inverted comma, as it is his hands that go around her neck. Go around her neck. Yes. Now, it is difficult to remove them. It is difficult to remove them. Right. You knew by people's reaction that you two abnormal, the way the nasty ones are nasty and the nice ones too nice, the old white women who muttered and glared at him, the black men who shook their hands you, the black women who spit in nice, beyond your lack of self-esteem, your self-loathing, or the black women who smiled sweet solitary smile, solidarity smiles, the black men who tried too hard to forgive you, saying too obvious to him, the white men and women who said, what a good-looking pair, too brightly, too loud, as though to prove their own open-mindedness to themselves. But his parents were different. They almost made you think it was all normal. His mother told you that he had never brought a girl to meet them, except for his high school prom date, and he grinned stiffly and held your hand. The tablecloth shielded your clasped hands. He squeezed your hand and you squeezed back and wondered why he was so stiff, why his extra virgin oil-colored eyes darkened as he spoke to his parents. His mother was delighted when she asked if you'd real novel El Sadawi. You said yes. His father asked how similar Indian food was to Nigerian food and teased you about paying when the check came. You looked at them and felt grateful that they did not examine you like an exotic trophy, an ivory task. Afterward, he told you about his issues with his parents, how they portioned out love like a birthday cake, how they would give him a bigger slice if only he had agreed to go to a law school. You wanted to sympathize, but instead you were angry. You were angrier when he told he had refused to go up to Canada with them for a week or two to their summer cottage in the Quebec countryside. They had even asked him to bring you. He showed you pictures of the cottage and you wondered why it was called a cottage because the buildings that big around your neighborhood back home were blanks and churches. You dropped a glass and it shattered on the hardwood of his apartment floor and he asked that it was wrong and you said nothing. Although you thought a lot was wrong, later in the shower you started to cry. You watched the water dilute your tears and you didn't know why you were crying. You wrote home finally, a short letter to your parents, slipped in between crisp dollar bills, and you included your address. You got a reply on days later by courier. Your mother wrote the letter herself. You knew from the spidery penmanship, from the misspelled words, your father was dead. He had slumped over the steering wheel of his company car. 5 months now, she wrote. They used to some of the money you sent to give him a good funeral. They killed a goat for the guest and buried him in a good coffin. You curled up in bed, pressed your knees to your chest, and tried to remember what you had been doing when your father died, what you had been doing for all the months when he was already dead. Perhaps your father died on the day your whole body had been covered in goosebumps, hard as uncooked rice that you could not explain. Juan teasing you about talking over from the chef so that the heat in the kitchen would warm you up. Perhaps your father died on one of the days you took a drive to Mystic or watched play in Manchester or had dinners at Chang's. He held you while you cried, smoothed your hair, and offered to buy you a ticket to go with you to see your family. You said no, you neglected to go alone. He asked if you would come back and reminded him that you had green card and you lose it if you did not come back in 1 year. He said you knew what he meant. Would you come back? Come back. You turned away, said nothing, and when he drove into the airport, you hugged him tight for a long moment and then let you go. Yes, right. At the end of now, right at the end of the story, she writes a letter to her mother with some dollar notes covered covered, and for the first time she writes her address. She writes her address. Yes. It is then her mother's her mother writes to her that her father died then they could give him a good funeral with a good coffin with what money She sent. She sent. Yes. Finally, she returns empty hands, empty hands, having put aside all the hopes that she had when she came to America. When she came to America. Mm, yes. Here the writer shows actually what happens to girls who migrate to America from Nigeria after winning after winning lottery tickets. Yes. She lost all the things about her and then returns to her poor home alone with her sad and unfortunate memories. Unfortunate memories. At last, it is not mentioned whether she will go back to America and we could safely believe that she will not go back because she does not want to be the victims of that hardships. Right. අපි මේකේ මේ හොඳ ඇනලයිස් එකක් ආයෙ ගමු මේ ආන්සර්ස් ලියනකොට. මේ සති ඉස්කෝලේ යනවද මේ ඔය දෙන්න දෙමිනි?
දවසක් ඉන්න පුළුවන් සර් මට.
මොකද?
එක දවසක් ගෙදර ඉන්න පුළුවන්.
එක්කෙනෙක් කතා කරන්නකෝ දැන් මේ දෙමිනිට ගෙදර ඉන්න පුළුවන් දවසක එහෙමද?
ඔව් සර්.
කවදද පුළුවන්?
බදාදා වගේ පුළුවන්.
හරි. නිස්රට කොහමද?
මට ඉස්කෝලේ සර්.
ඉස්කෝලේ නේද? හරි. එහෙම වුණොත් බදාදා මම මේ ක්වෙස්චන් එකක් දෙයක් කරන්නම් උදේ මේ නිස්රා එක බලා ගන්නවද මේකෙන්?
हाँ सर
හරි. එහෙනම් Wednesday morning 9 am get ready to write some answers. Okay, right. Then today enough. Good night.
गुड नाइट सर